he didn't grow up, I didn't grow up with a father. I had a mother, and remember that I was born in '62. So the Vietnam War was raging in my younger years, and the '60s were happening. And in my house, you know, my mother was one that she absolutely despised cops. I'm probably about 10 years old. I borrowed my niece or my cousin's bicycle, and we were house sitting over here. And I rode to the store to get my mom a newspaper. And on the way back, a big African-American guy, to me, he looked like a giant. He just punched me in the face, knocked me off the bike, and jumped on the bike and took off. And I was terrified, you know, so I ran all the way back to this house that we were staying at while my mother's mother was on vacation. And my mom was, of course, drunk. This is, you know, early evening. And as the night went on, and there's vulgar language, I apologize for ahead of time, because this is how it went down. She was so angry, and, you know, she was very condescending. You know, I was a loser, and you're a fucking piece of shit, and you're never going to amount to anything, and I wish I didn't have you, and, you know, standard happy home. And she was getting furious that somebody took that bike, and she's going to have to explain it. So after she's ripped, she says, "Get your ass up. We're going to go take a look for this bike." Well, now it's 11:30 at night, and we're driving into Watts, which is a dangerous area if you're, in those days, if you're a drunk white lady with a little skinny white kid sitting next to you, stopping groups of clearly gang members, you know, Crips, and ask. So she's driving through looking for this bike, and she's getting madder and madder and madder. And at one point, we come down a street. Now it's well after midnight, and there is just a sea of what I learned later, because of the area, I ended up policing the same area, oddly enough. But there was a group of Crips, and these were hardcore gang members. In those days, it was khakis, creased khakis and T-shirts, a lot of jerry curl and standing around in just big groups. And here comes my mom, and she pulls up, and the windows are down, and they circle the car. "Hey, what are you doing here? What are you looking for?" You know, and she says, "Have you guys seen a bike?" And no, and they were getting a little froggy. I mean, you know, they were very shocked that this lady was doing this. And finally she says, "Can you believe this? Sorry about this, I apologize. Can you believe this little pussy let somebody take his cousin's bike?" You know, and I'm kind of thinking, where's she going with this? And then she gets herself madder, and the heads are sticking in the window, and I'm terrified. I just want to get out of there. I'm like, "Mom, let's go. And she goes, "You know what? Open the door. It's unlocked. Open the door and pull this little pussy out and show him what a real ass whipping's like." And even though I knew my mom was out of control, I never thought that would happen. And I couldn't, my mind couldn't handle it. And the door opens, and all these arms come in. They pulled me out of the car, and there's yelling and noise.
And what are you thinking?
Well, I almost went into like some kind of a trauma thing. Because it was like slow motion to me. And I remember falling back on the street, and I'm looking up, and the door, one of them closed the door, and my mom took off. And when those, now this is hard for me to talk about, because I don't want to start crying either. But this is kind of scary to me even now. I feel sorry for the dude, the little kid, not me, but it's hard to believe that was me. And all of a sudden, I hear this voice, "Man, back the fuck off, and I sense something's changing as I wait to die. Something changed. And these C parts, and the biggest dude I've seen, just this hardcore gang member, man. And he stands over and says, "Man, get the fuck up, little man, get up." And people are still saying, "Get back off, man. Get away from him." And they're like, "Yo, man." Hey. And he says, get up, little man." And I'm thinking, wait a minute, is there a chance I might survive this? My head started trying to catch up with reality. And he pulls me up, and he starts walking. He's yelling at them to stay back, you know, get away from this guy. And now he says to me, "Hey, man, why'd your mom do that to you?" You know, and he said it in street talk, you know, "Hey, man, why'd your moms do that to you?" You know, and I didn't even know how to talk. I was just crying. Like, I don't know, because I'm a pussy. And then I realized, holy crap, this guy has like empathy. I didn't know the word empathy, but I could feel that he really cared, which I couldn't believe. I thought I was going to die that night. So he starts walking. He says, "Where do you live?" And I didn't know the address because it wasn't my house. It was my grandmother's house. He's walking with me in the middle of the night, and he's talking to me like a dad almost. And we get it's a long way away. We had to go west of Crenshaw, and anyone that knows the area could tell you kind of where I was at. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it was about 2 blocks east of Crenshaw. We make a right, and there's the house. And I think it's done. And even though I know my mom's in there because I can see the car, I'm happy to be home and out of that scenario. But he says, hey, you know, you got no father, you got no brothers. Somebody needs you to teach you how to handle yourself, man. And I didn't know it. I was just agreeing with everything. And he says, you know what? I'm going to be here tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning, man. And I'm going to show you how to handle yourself. Somebody has to teach you. Now, even at that age, I didn't really think it was going to happen. I just wanted to get away, just stop everything. That night was overload for me. And he left, and I go in. Would you believe the doorbell rang at 9 o'clock, and my mom opens the door, and here's this guy. He showed up. He asked me to take him to the backyard. He spent, I don't know, 2 hours teaching me the fundamentals of fighting. And I mean, I didn't know anything. I was raised by a mom and 3 sisters. And I had no idea how to do anything except run and sneak home from school a different direction every day because this gang was trying to get me and that guy wanted to kick my ass. I had 100 ways home from school to avoid getting beat up. And he's teaching me the fundamentals. And he said he was going to come back the next day. I believed him. And he did. He showed up the next day. And that day, my mom, in a rare moment, actually was sober, which was weird. Didn't see that very much. And she was a mean drunk. But in the middle of all this in the backyard, she actually, it was probably the nicest thing my mother ever did that I can remember. She comes out with plates with sandwiches for him and I. And I sat there with what I didn't know at the time, but realized later was a hardcore guy that had done time. And I'll end it with this. Fast forward to later on, I'm in a black and white driving in that same area. And man, I used to look at that street and I would think to myself, what I would give if I just knew his name. Because I look at that guy as an angel that truly came into my life and saved me, man. Maybe not from death, but saved me from something that could have changed me for life.
You know, a lot of people feel like their hands are tied. I can't change the world. I can't do anything. So I'm gonna protest, which is fine. But it's not okay, again, to commit crimes and crimes against people and to injure them. And I know over 1,000 officers have been injured or killed in the last week, over 1,000. And that breaks my heart. They're trying to maintain or some type of law and order. And that's their job, like you said. But I feel like, you know, you can be a part of the problem or you can be a part of the solution. Yeah, and that starts with you, personally. I'm choosing myself to be a part of the solution. I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to vote. I'm going to decide, you know, what is important, what's not. And if everybody does that and doesn't listen to what their mom said, their dad said, their friend said, social media said, the stuff that people believe and get riled up about on social media is absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to get on a tangent now. I taught my kids, they're young adults now at a very young age. They come home and tell me something. You know what? Where did you hear that? Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do research. I'm going to show you how to form your own opinion because we're herd animals. We want to follow a herd. We follow, you know, what everybody says we should do, you know, like, let's just be a duck walking with the rest of the ducks. This isn't the time to be a duck. This is the time to think for yourself, you know, do the right thing. Change starts within. It's never too late to change. And I encourage everybody to challenge yourself to becoming informed, to empower yourself through knowledge. I'm going to tell you, knowledge is intrinsic, meaning that no one can take it away from you. They can take your car, they can take your, you know, your freedom. If you're arrested, they can take your money, they can take your wife, they can take your girlfriend, they can take your kids, they can take anything. But one thing somebody cannot do is take away the knowledge that you gain.